All right, so the world economy is struggling. It's a bit of an understatement. And it's really viewed as a crisis of confidence. And along with that, the world is going through a transitioning phase. So the solution for the world economy, in terms of the current turmoil, is as much to do with politics as it is to do with economics. In order to expand that facility, you need all 17 governments within the euro area to agree to that expansion. The indicators are not suggesting that the US economy is already in a recession. There is no evidence that the economy is already in a recession. It's very unlikely that the US will experience a recession if consumer spending is positive. Okay, very unlikely. So what can cause consumer spending to go negative now? If the US economy now starts to shed employment, it will go back into a recession. So this adds to the anxiety because every single month you see, ooh, hold on, the US government is cutting jobs. If at any point that number goes negative, buy the hell out the gold market. Because the US is going into severe recession or a protracted recession that's going to be difficult to solve. Will the US economy experience a recession? And we say no. But we're giving you the main thing to watch, employment. Let's answer the second question. Can the US economy go back to its former glory? Can the US economy achieve its former rate of growth, 3 or 4%? And our answer to that emphatically, no. The first problem is if you look at the level of unemployment in the United States, it has become structural. In other words, the number of people in the United States that are now unemployed for more than 27 weeks, which is effectively 6 months, is over 6 million people. The problem the US has is where do you find 6 million new jobs when you're losing your industrial base? The US government is now massively indebted. This year their government debt will go to 100% of GDP. The international guideline says don't go over 60. Please don't go over 60. They were there. Don't go over 60. If you go over 60, what's going to happen? You're going to get yourself into financial trouble. Who set the guideline? The US. So they are at 100, massively indebted. Structural unemployment, 14.3 million vacant homes, a government that is highly indebted that has to consolidate. Throw on top of that the fourth problem. The US Federal Reserve has pumped $2 trillion into the US economy by way of quantitative easing. Now, Zimbabwe did that. Besides blowing up small countries, what do these guys spend their money on? Consuming. Living beyond their means. These guys have become the consumers. But they haven't been investing. And in order to grow your economy, you need to invest. How much of their economy, their national income, does China spend every year? Every year. 45% or more. The United States is spending 15%. Who's the next winner? They all agreed when they joined the euro, all of these guys agreed to get into the euro, to get in, you had to agree, I won't go over 60% of GDP. And all the countries had to have their government debt at 60% of GDP or lower to get in, even the Greeks, which they kind of did. Now Europe sits at 80-90%. Europe has become indebted. So that divergence proves impossible to manage. Think about the job Trichet's got, an interest rate, one interest rate. For all of that, how's it going to work? And so it doesn't. Minus 14%. Think about that in South Africa. Oh my goodness. If we have minus 1, we'd be worried. Front page headlines, that's minus 14. How come? They put the VAT rate up to 23%. 40% of the population works for government. That's not the reason. If you work for government in Greece, your job is guaranteed for life constitutionally. Your average German citizen is not happy that he has to pay and support the southern European states, who he feels haven't worked hard enough. And what did the Minister of Finance say? He said, if you met an alcoholic and you wanted to help the alcoholic, would you give them more alcohol? It's like a bit harsh, right? So he's saying Greece is an alcoholic and their drug of choice, some debt. So can Greece borrow from the market? Can they? No. Financial suicide. You can't do that. So what is the market saying? The market's saying, I think Greece is going to implode. The market is pricing for a default. Here's the scary thing. None of that is the real problem in Europe. That's the mild stuff. If you go back to April 2010 and you look at the structure of European debt, at that point only Greece was regarded as risky. We look at something called the CDS spread, credit default swap. If you don't know what a credit default swap is, take the word swap away and put the word insurance in its place. Credit default insurance. They don't call it credit default insurance because then you have to regulate the instrument. They don't want that. So they call it a credit default swap, then the instrument goes unregulated. Don't worry. It basically means how expensive is it to take insurance that Greece will default. And the main concern now is this country, Italy. Why? Because Italy is the most indebted government within Europe. If you don't solve the Greek problem adequately, it is very likely that that will spread and become an Italian-Spanish problem. And at that point, you'll lose control of it. But the longer the 17 governments drive their bus to the edge of the cliff, the more prospect that has of happening. Japan, could I sell you Japan? Japan doesn't get talked about. But if you want to see the most indebted government in the world, it's Japan. Their government debt this year will be 233% of GDP. The international guideline is 60%. The world is more coupled than ever, more integrated than ever. But they are operating at two speeds. Emerging market top speed, developed market bottom speed. So South Africa has to find a way to go from a 3% growth economy to a typical growth economy, 6%. What is the main thing you need to grow fast? This is it. And what is this? Fixed investment. What is fixed investment? You just got to build something. Fixed investment is building a road, a railway, a harbour, an airport, a school, a factory, a business. You're building for the future. You can only spend what you earn. It's an odd concept. You can only spend what you earn. And if what you earn is 2% more, how much more can you spend? 2% more. Which means how fast can the US economy grow? 2%. Fundamentally, what has caused the European problem? Fundamentally, you're trying to tell the 10-year-old kid, what caused the Euro problem? What caused the European problem is a lifestyle choice. You make a lifestyle choice every day. One of them is the choice between leisure and work. How much leisure versus how much work? And in Southern Europe, not in Northern Europe, in Southern Europe, the lifestyle choice became leisure. And now you're saying to the Germans who have chosen work over leisure to bail out the Southern Europeans who've chosen leisure over work. Is it going to work? No. Where does South Africa fit in? Look at our debt level. This is superb. Thank you, Trevor Manuel. Our government debt level is less than 40% of GDP. It's edging higher, but it's less than 40% of GDP. Phenomenal. We are one of the least indebted governments in the world, and we are internationally applauded for this. So how does South Africa lift itself from a 3% growth economy to a proper emerging market status, 6%? John Maynard Keynes wrote about it in 1936. He said the level of employment is determined by the level of investment. Nothing's changed. So what is that telling us? If South Africa wants to grow at 6%, we've got to create jobs. How many? 500,000 jobs a year. That would be cool. How do you create jobs? There's only one way. I promise you, if you come up with another way, there's a Nobel Prize waiting for you. You can only create jobs in one way. You have to invest. And by invest means you've got to build something. Build a road, a railway, a harbour, an airport, a school, a business. What is the ideal level of investment that South Africa needs? Between 25 and 30%, but not for 1 year, for the next 10 years. Now, why is the private sector not investing? Why? Cash on hand in corporates is the highest it's ever been. How come? How come? They cut 1 million jobs. We retrenched 1 million people during the recession, and the economy recovered. And they made money. And they are sitting with cash on hand that is at an all-time high. So what is that telling us? Companies are what? They're lacking confidence. The business sector lacks confidence. We need the owners of capital to have confidence. This is South Africa's entire savings pool, and it rests in the hands of the corporates. And until such time as South African corporates are confident, this economy will struggle. And right now, that is what is broken down in this country. The people who have capital are not engaging positively with the authorities. And there's an element of distrust or misalignment. You can see it in the Walmart deal. Because we need these guys at some point to take this money, take a whole chunk of debt, and build something and employ people. And there is no other way. If you can come up with another way, let me know. There's a whole Nobel Prize waiting. Or a failed state.